Hello again. Me, obviously, watching some TV and cats. Typical day. We're going to talk about what's going on with the Blu-ray market, and sometimes when you get a lemon for a movie. We're going to talk about War of the Worlds on Blu-ray. I bought that a while back and got the movie and found it to be a worse copy of the movie than the DVD was, which is amazing. We ended up getting one later on, and it was actually good. But a lot of these movies that are out there, the companies just go to make them. So you got to read a lot of reviews before you buy one of these Blu-rays. And a good hint is they used to use, a lot of you don't know about Computer Shopper. It's a company that existed for a very long time, and they still put out a pamphlet pretty much for a magazine, but they used to be the be-all, end-all of all movies of all time. I kid you not. They had every technical item you could get in there for making a movie using your PC. Back in those days, we had to use an external or an internal processor, and then had to get other items in a row to make it work. You had to have a good enough processor, but external, all the processors, Hauppauge, a company out of New York, used to make the best of everything, and everything used to be centric to having that capability. And well, I'm 61 now. Nowadays, you do it all in software better than you could ever do it in hardware. And yes, it is better to have the hardware to hook it up to make movies and to transfer. I had a fiasco when I tried to take all my tapes and transfer them to burner DVDs or burner Blu-ray, for that matter, later on. And they made it to where it wasn't worth it. Now, what it is, they wanted people to keep buying the same movie over and over, which we did because there's no other option. That's when DivX came out. I don't know if any of you remember DivX. DivX was a format where you used a movie a couple times and it would no longer work. And it was the perfect rental movie. You could just rent it to them and know that the customer couldn't use it after the time ran out because the disc itself would go bad. Sorry, I just scratched my hand. Wow, that was a huge error in a lot of the companies. That did fail because people don't want to do that. They'd rather have the disc, the actual movie, watch it as long as they want. They love streaming. Streaming is great because I can go to Disney Plus and pay them money for literally a couple shows a month. That's it. That's insane. Really think about it. They only have a couple good shows, and then they want you to pay them money per month. And they say, well, that gives you ESPN, and that gives you Hulu. Well, that's a joke. I canceled it because I couldn't see a value in paying them money per month, basically to watch their stuff and let them advertise still on it and do whatever they wanted. So, canceled, done. Won't go back to them, even though I like the shows. Their format is terrible. They're trying to do money gouging just like Disney always does. What I find funny is they're having trouble with the governor in Florida, DeSantis, and arguably he's probably the dumbest man on earth. That's not even part of the issue. He has to be. If you can support Trump and then at the same time try and subvert Trump, and Trump's trying to subvert him. And personally, I don't care who subverts or subverts or whatever you want to call it. They're both idiots. But they're fighting a battle down in Florida, Disney is, and they haven't figured out yet that their best move, in fact, the absolute best move, is to close up shop, shut down Disney World, take a huge write-off. I mean, we're talking a devastating write-off to Disney. Don't move your movie unit to Florida and just drag Florida into the seventh hell. Because if you do that, no one will ever screw with Disney again. The damage that'll do to Florida's economy, I don't think it'll be recoverable. The tourism, everything else. Why would anybody go to Miami? Let's see. Let's go to the violence in Miami. Well, no, that ain't going to work. They're not going to allow that at all anymore. So what exactly would this happen? What would happen if they did it? Well, number one, DeSantis wouldn't remain the governor of Florida at all. They'd end up having to do a recall on him, and that'd be the end of DeSantis. And, that's their problem, is that Disney's trying to support fanatical idiots at a time when fanatical idiots are destroying the country, trying to make it private. Wow, that's stupid. So that is a reason why I don't support Disney anymore. What's the point of paying them money when they're just going to pour it into appeasing the Republican Party, which isn't the Republican Party. Mind you, I was a Republican my whole life. From the time I was able to vote till just before the last election, I was a Republican and proud of it. I'm from Texas. I was born from Texas. But somewhere along the way, the Texans have lost the one thing that was important, and that's honor. They've taken a road where they're being dishonorable. So I won't take sides with any company that's dishonorable. Disney is dishonorable. Look what they did to Netflix. Netflix had 4 really good shows. Disney didn't have those 4 shows. They didn't develop them. They didn't set them up. They didn't get the actors. But what they did do was the minute they became too successful and Disney was launching its own service, they took them away, and now apparently they're going to Disney Plus. Well, that's another reason why I'll never watch Disney Plus again. Do I have Apple? Yeah, I got Apple. It was cheap, really cheap. It only really had 1 show, and they have 2 others we like. But if they don't end up being that way too, then we're paying for, again, nothing. So down the road, that may get canceled too, because they really don't support the product. Now, let's talk about Netflix. I don't agree with everything they do, but Netflix at least puts out movies like crazy. And they hit or miss. Sometimes they're so-so. Sometimes they're really good. And sometimes I've seen a couple that were garbage, but they at least try. In fact, they're putting out more movies that are good than Hollywood has. And if you go look at what's going on with that, you get impressed, because they're building and expanding their studios, which means they're going to make more and more movies. I'm in New Mexico. They have a studio here. But if you look at the other channels, the other series, the other things, HBO Max, I canceled them for the same reason. There was no point in paying people money for nothing. And they know that. That's what's so funny. That's why they try and release stuff in multiple ways. They can't get you to go to HBO Max, but now at least they put it out on digital. They want to stream it. But sometimes they don't even want to let it out in Blu-ray. And you can see that by some of the releases they've had where they haven't released them in 4K. So this is a punishment. If you don't go to our service, you don't get to see it that way. Of course, if you go to their service, you don't get what you pay for. So there's only one service that is really good, and that's Netflix. And then Google. Truthfully. I use, if I'm going to buy movies, Vudu. So you might want to look into it. If you haven't, Vudu has the best sound, has a very good streaming quality, and it works with your other services. So you buy movies through Vudu and not waste your time with the other services. And if you need to watch them, you can watch them anywhere, whatever company is giving you the best sound, because it's movies anywhere. And there's other benefits supposedly coming. Am I mad at Vudu for breaking up with Walmart? Yeah, Walmart was absolutely moronic for not keeping control of Vudu. That was a stupid move, because it used to be you could buy the physical disc ahead of time, pre-order, and when the digital was ready, you could watch it on Vudu immediately, and then wait for your disc to come in the mail. And that's how I did all my movie ordering. But apparently they didn't have good advertising, and here we are again. So, honor. big deal with the company. You put out a product, you don't force people to do stuff the wrong way, and everything will be okay. So we're back to those movies again. There's a lot of Blu-ray movies coming out. Make sure you choose them, but very much read the reviews first, and make sure you have a good player that does more than one region, or you're going to find a nightmare in that, because a cheap one that doesn't play multi-regions will not let you play most of the movies you can get. And on top of that, some of the best versions of those movies are from Europe. That's what really is messed up, man. The Europeans are smart enough to do that, but over here, we're still paying rental fees to stupid companies. We'll figure that out sooner or later. I've been buying movies and renting movies since the very beginning they came out. And yes, I got rid of a lot of tapes at yard sales. And I have an entire box of DVD movies that I don't use because I have the Blu-rays of them. So that's the big deal. If anybody wants to wonder what it is to be honorable, here's an idea. Come out with a movie, come out with it in 4K on Blu-ray. Have it to where you can buy it with a service. In other words, you buy the movie and then we'll send it to you on physical disc. So you actually have it. In case World War III happens, you'll be able to play it. Mind you, if you're still alive, you got that happening. If not, you're not being honorable. When you just release it as a streaming service that you pay a monthly fee for, you're saying, wow, I already got the fee. Well, you're paying a lot of money if you're on HBO Max for a movie because the other stuff's already paid for. Don't look at old movies as they're giving you a service. Nobody leases or owns all of them. And the people who try to do it are trying to do the same thing, force you to watch their service and not somebody else's. And what's the one thing that the United States has always been proud not to? You try to stop monopolies. Disney wants monopoly. HBO Max wants monopoly. And if you look at them all together and what they have on their services, they're just cable relabeled. You don't cut the cable. You just pay the cable fees to one company that if they're not working, you have no cable. And by the way, they have terrible customer service. Netflix, pretty good. Roku, outstanding. The worst streaming software, wow. Tenzin. The second worst streaming software on your TV is going to be Google. The third worst is going to be Apple TV of any type. If you want a good one, and we're talking worlds apart, look for streaming on a Roku. If you can't use a Roku, Google's okay. But just remember, you got to start turning microphones off because those TVs all spy. And you really trust somebody with your data nowadays? You say stuff in the house that you don't. And I'll tell you what, me and my wife joke about weird toys that you could buy or perverted stuff just to see what shows up on our phones as an advertisement. And if we have it on, Amazon's Alexa does it too. Because I'll have an ad for something me and her have talked about and not put down on paper and not searched for, and it'll show up as something to buy. So everybody's listening. You just got to be careful what you say and what you do, and if you get a new TV, probably turning off the mic should be your first thing. Thank you. I'll have another message down the road. Just griping today.